Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Love and Life, the channel where we share knowledge for holistic self-development through great books. Mom once said that in life there are two great treasures: freedom of thought and freedom of movement. However, although most of us are born free, how many actually touch true freedom? Most people are busy putting invisible shackles on themselves, turning the journey of life into a relentless battle for liberation. But why, no matter how hard we've tried, can we still not truly escape? The main reason lies in three primary types of shackles that everyone must face. These are the shackles that we often lack the awareness and courage to remove decisively at the right time. If we don't recognize and release them in time, you will be forever held back, unable to achieve true freedom and happiness. So, what are these three shackles? The classic novel of Human Bondage will help you gain deeper insight to find the answer for yourself. This is a semi-autobiographical work by the famous British writer William Somerset Maugham. I previously introduced this author's book, The Moon and Sixpence. Maugham had the idea for this novel at the age of 23 and only completed the manuscript at the age of 37. As soon as it was released, the book was hailed as a work of genius, quickly becoming a classic and translated into many languages. And now, please listen to a sharing from Love and Life titled The Three Shackles to Remove in Life through the novel of Human Bondage by Maugham. Removing the shackle of inferiority to reconcile with your imperfect self. The main character, Philip, lost both his parents at the age of 9 and had to live with his uncle. But his uncle was conservative and rigid, making Philip's childhood full of pressure and boredom. Worse, Philip was born with a club foot, causing him to walk with a limp. A lonely life and a physical defect made him very shy, insecure, and sensitive. When he went to school, he was ridiculed by many classmates. One would deliberately make Philip take off his shoe to get a better look. Another would imitate his walk. Another would intentionally kick his leg. Philip tried hard to fit in, wanting to be like everyone else, but the harder he tried, the more he was ridiculed. The great psychological pressure caused Philip's academic performance to plummet, and even his teacher harshly called him a lame little fool. In high school, Philip still couldn't escape the taunts and humiliation from his friends. Gradually, he became psychologically obsessed, growing more insecure and quiet. The imperfection of his body became a thorn in his side. Even as an adult, just hearing the word lame would make Philip tense up, his face flush, his heart pound, and his hands tremble. In those moments, his heart was filled with hatred and resentment for his own body. When looking for a job, Philip also faced many difficulties because of his leg. In love, he felt inferior, thinking that any woman would despise him. Many years later, Philip matured and became a doctor. One day, he treated a patient, a young boy with a foot disability. Looking at the boy, Philip saw his younger self and was very careful in his communication. But the boy was carefree, smiled, and said, "It just doesn't look very nice, that's all." He showed that it didn't affect his life much. A word as light as a cloud, but it carried the weight of 1,000 pounds, waking Philip up. That's right. Why is what the world deems beautiful or excellent so important to us? Because we have always craved those things. But the more you crave beauty and perfection to be recognized by the masses, the more the looks, words, and actions of others can directly affect your psyche. The more you are affected, the more insecure you become, and the more you crave perfection. This is a vicious cycle. You are trapped in an invisible prison, cuffed by the shackles of inferiority. Here, we see the author used Philip's physical disability to point out a truth we must face, that every one of us has flaws, if not physical, then mental. As in Adler's classic psychology book on inferiority, which I have shared before, every one of us, more or less, has an inferiority complex. If not this, then that. Insecure about appearance. Too fat or too thin, too tall or too short. My teeth aren't nice. My face isn't pretty. My skin is too dark, too much acne. Insecure about poor academic performance. Insecure because my job isn't as respectable as others. Insecure about not having a high education. Insecure about a congenital defect. Insecure about being born LGBTQ. Insecure about being a boy born in a girl's body. Insecure about family background. In summary, we are all insecure about an imperfect self. Faced with inferiority, people usually have two main types of behavior. First is avoidance, second is defense. A person with avoidant behavior will withdraw and try to avoid all situations that might cause feelings of inferiority or discomfort. They limit participation in social activities, public events, or meeting friends. This is an act of self-isolation, limiting their potential for development, and it sometimes makes that person become procrastinating and indecisive. The truth is, the more you isolate yourself, the greater the desire to integrate, to be like others, becomes. And the more you crave it, the more insecure you become. Therefore, they can never free themselves from the shackles of inferiority. As for the person with defensive behavior, they will react by protecting themselves from feelings of hurt, criticism, or judgment, often by seeking validation and confirmation from others. For example, they will intentionally and proactively expose their own flaws to seek recognition in a subtle way. This is called a self-deprecating personality. When a person frequently says, "I'm so fat lately," "I'm too short," "This outfit doesn't look good on me," what they really want to hear from others is, "No, you're not fat." "No, that outfit looks great on you." But these words only bring fleeting comfort. Afterward, the lingering inferiority complex remains, because deep down, they know those are just comforting lies. But even knowing this, they continue to deny themselves. This is nothing but an internal drama that only makes them suffer more. If a person constantly chews on their pain, stubbornly consuming themselves, they will never escape the shackles of life. The only way to remove the shackle is to stop comparing yourself to others, stop focusing on your flaws and shortcomings, and stop thinking that being imperfect is a terrible thing. The journey of life is a process of constantly removing shackles, but sometimes awakening only takes a single thought. Just like Philip, after changing his mindset, he suddenly realized that fate had left his body flawed, but it had also given him other distinct qualities. He said, "If my leg wasn't deformed, I couldn't have such a keen sense of perception." The books he read, the roads he traveled, the pain he experienced, made him understand that the disability itself made life difficult, but it also gave him the ability for thorough self-examination, to appreciate the beauty of art and this life. From then on, Philip calmly accepted his imperfect self. He finally escaped the shackles of his inferiority complex, achieving reconciliation and self-salvation. There is a saying, "Flowers not yet in full bloom, a moon not yet full, that is the most beautiful." Because if all the flowers are in full bloom, they will inevitably wither. If the moon has a day when it is perfectly full, there will certainly be a day when it begins to wane. In this world, nothing is perfect. But it is this very imperfection that makes you unique in your own way. If we look up with eyes of comparison at others and think they have things that are more perfect than us, then when we turn back to look at ourselves, our focus will be entirely on our own flaws. Because of this, it is very difficult to see your strengths and unleash your true power. So, only when you let go of this shackle of inferiority can you truly begin. For the things that can be changed, just try your best to change them positively, naturally, without comparison, and by focusing on yourself. As for the things you cannot change, accept them. At this point, the eyes and judgments of others will no longer be important to you. And only then can you truly touch freedom. Like the character Philip, he could begin to walk with composure and peace on his limping leg. Leo Tolstoy once said an interesting sentence, "All the variety, all the charm, all the beauty of life is made up of light and shadow." When you learn to accept life's imperfections, that is when you have the strength to step out of the darkness and discover your own true value. Tossing out the shackle of mistaken persistence to see the right path. What career should I choose is a question that everyone must face on their life path. Philip was the same. His uncle wanted him to follow in his footsteps and become a clergyman. His aunt wanted him to follow his deceased father's profession and become a doctor. Although Philip didn't know what he wanted to do, he refused both his aunt's and uncle's arrangements because he hated being a clergyman and a doctor. Through an acquaintance's introduction, Philip became an apprentice at an accounting office. Before long, the mundane tasks, sitting opposite columns of addition and subtraction, made him start to hate this job. Since childhood, Philip had a special love for painting. His friends saw his paintings and all said he had artistic talent. From then on, he nurtured a dream of becoming a painter. He convinced his aunt to support him financially, and then, filled with hope, he went to Paris to study art. When he first arrived, Philip felt he had met like-minded people. Every day, everyone was passionately holding a brush, drinking coffee, and enthusiastically discussing art and life. That was until he met a girl named Price. Everything began to change. Price was a very hard-working and diligent girl, practicing painting constantly. But the art teacher, after observing her for a time, found she had no talent and frankly advised her, hoping she could find something more suitable for herself. However, this girl did not believe the teacher. She firmly believed that as long as she persisted, she could succeed. The result was that not a single one of her paintings sold. Poverty piled up. Finally, in despair, she breathed her last in her shabby rented room. Price's story was a powerful shock to Philip, and for the first time, he began to doubt his own choice. He couldn't help but go and ask his teacher if he had talent for painting. The teacher didn't answer the question directly, but instead told Philip a story. This story is also in Maugham's other famous novel, The Moon and Sixpence. The story tells of a stockbroker named Strickland who had a stable career, a prosperous and happy family. But suddenly, one day, he gave it all up and went to Paris alone to pursue his dream of becoming a painter. He said, "I feel like a drowning man. Only painting can save me." With endless passion, Strickland finally achieved his wish, became a painter, and found his own happiness. After hearing the story, Philip suddenly realized that true artists, besides talent, must also have an incredibly strong passion for what they do. In a recent video I shared about persistence through the life of the genius painter Van Gogh, a friend commented that the line between persistence and stubbornness is very thin. In truth, this line is not as thin as we think. It only becomes blurry when you are not clear about yourself. This requires us to learn to observe and feel ourselves from the inside out and answer these questions for ourselves. What do you like to do? Do you have the ability to do it well? Do you feel joy and happiness in the process of doing it? When doing it, are you willing to face all the difficulties? Are you thinking about the gains and losses in choosing to continue? Are you working just to achieve a certain material purpose? To make a lot of money? To become famous and have high status? Do you have an intense, driving passion for your work? Do you have enough motivation that no one, nothing, can stop you from moving forward? If you have all these conditions, then be persistent. Persevere to the end with your choice, like Van Gogh, like Strickland in The Moon and Fanned Sixpence, or like the shepherd boy Santiago in The Alchemist. But if not, then be like Philip in this novel. Take a timely look at yourself. Philip clearly recognized that he did not have an intense passion for painting. After thinking it over, he decided to give up painting and switch to studying medicine in London. Because this was a decision made after careful consideration, Philip was very diligent throughout his studies. Thanks to his relentless efforts, he earned his medical license. In the process of healing and saving many people, Philip increasingly felt his own value, became more confident and stronger. He now realized that the job that was truly suitable for him was being a doctor. There is a saying, persisting in a mistake is not a form of courage, but a foolish stubbornness. On the path of survival and seeking his mission, Philip was able to find the field he was truly good at and passionate about, thanks to his clear awareness, his courage to stop at the right time, and removing the shackle of mistaken persistence. That was the character Philip, and it's the same in our lives. If you know you don't have the ability to do a certain job but still stubbornly pursue it, you will surely achieve nothing in the end. Only by letting go of this stubbornness can you see the right path ahead more clearly. Do what you are good at and find yourself in the depths of your soul. As the poet Hermann Hesse famously said, "For each person, there is really only one task: to find oneself, then to hold on to it in one's soul for a lifetime." Removing the shackle of a toxic relationship to love yourself and live freely. During his time studying painting in Paris, Philip fell in love with a waitress named Mildred. This girl had an ordinary face, pale skin, and a frail appearance, but Philip was madly infatuated with her. Over time, Philip realized this girl had a vulgar mind, a harsh personality, and was materialistic and rigid. Mildred was greedy, vain, a liar, and had poor morals. Every time they dated, she would shop wildly. But Philip, despite his financial difficulties, was willing to spend all his money on her. The two were not on the same intellectual level and didn't have many topics to talk about. To prevent her from feeling bored, Philip always tried to strike up conversations and make her happy. Not only that, this girl was also promiscuous, seeing many other men. Faced with such betrayal and disrespect, Philip still found it hard to let go of this relationship. When Mildred became pregnant by another man and was abandoned, she came back to find him. Philip held no resentment and was willing to be by her side and raise the child with even more burning affection. He knew he was like someone waiting for a ship at an airport. Even though she didn't love him, he still tried to find a little non-existent affection from her. He hated himself for loving so boundlessly, for lowering himself so much, causing the relationship to become severely unbalanced, but he couldn't break free. At times, he thought he wasn't good enough to have her. He was willing to do anything. He believed his sincerity would eventually win true love. But what did he get in the end? It was all just the craving of desire, blind stubbornness, and deception, with repeated humiliation. Later, blinded by materialism, Mildred became a prostitute and even contracted a venereal disease, finally disappearing from Philip's life. Philip, now penniless, was forced to wander the streets. A toxic relationship had made him pay with extreme pain. As time passed, looking back, Philip understood that he wasn't actually in love with a specific person, but was just in love with his own ego, his desires, and his stubbornness. As pointed out in the book The Road Less Traveled, all the feelings of falling in love, biological attractions, loving because you want to possess, or being dependent and reliant, are not true love. Philip's love was intense but blind, because he craved to be loved. It was just like a shackle imprisoning his soul. Maugham wrote in the novel, "This love was truly a torment." He hated that he had let desire rise up and take him over, as if he had become a prisoner, yearning for freedom. Later, Philip met Mildred again. He was still willing to help her, but only out of kindness. He also met a person who was a kindred spirit. The two married in mutual love, by truly letting go of his obsession, escaping the bondage of desire in a toxic relationship. Philip finally felt light and free. True love is compassion, empathy, giving each other freedom, growing together, developing together, and becoming the best versions of yourselves. But the love of desire comes from the wish to possess or depend on the other person. It only makes you sink, eroding your very self. By recognizing this shackle in time and throwing it away, we can walk in freedom and know how to truly love ourselves, as well as the other person. There is a famous saying, "There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." Life has many ups and downs. Everyone carries their own regrets and flaws. Walking alone, perhaps it's a physical defect. Perhaps it's one's own imperfection. Perhaps it's a lack of favor in a career or suffering in a relationship. Dissatisfaction often takes up a large part of life's journey. When you fall into such a difficult, dark situation, try to quiet your mind and read this book. Perhaps you will find the courage to change your destiny. Philip, in this book, used his ups and downs to tell us that only when you truly remove the shackle of inferiority about your imperfections can you completely reconcile with your inner self. Step out of the darkness of your complex and turn inferiority into transcendence. Only when you remove the shackle of mistaken persistence in your work can you find your passion and discover your true value. And only when you remove the shackle of a toxic relationship can you finally live a fulfilling and mature life in a balanced relationship. And when you remove those shackles, you can begin to truly love yourself, know how to love others, and live a free life. There is a saying, one thought can make a devil, one thought can make a Buddha. Your destiny will change. It all starts with a single thought. Are you truly ready to remove the shackles of your life and find yourself again? Clinging to obsession is a prison that holds you. Let go of obsession, and a million things will be at ease. Thank you for listening. If you found this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Give me a like, press the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to catch the newest videos every week. Thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next videos.